then, like, he did something that was, like, it was so dumb that, like, my respect went up for him. Oh, he watched all of his movies in the theater and just, like, crying during them. Hello and welcome to the Pens&Pixels Huntercast. Got it right this time. It wasn't just a bunch of fumbles, right? Because we have a real name. Probably maybe one of the most uninspired names for a Hunter X Hunter podcast, but a name nonetheless. I'm your host, Cal G, and to my left is the coordinator extraordinaire,
Mike Ken.
That's right. And this week we're going to be breaking down chapter, was it 358?
Yes. And you broke your professionalism.
I was pretty sure, and then I was like, was that last week?
You guys seem to really, really like this, so we're going to be probably doing this every week from now on.
Yeah, I mean, that was the plan anyways.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we could have done it and, like, 2 people could have listened and been like, no one likes Hunter.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, fairly niche thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know, this is a podcast that focuses on the Hunter x Hunter Manga, and its most recent chapter, and we discuss it. So if you either haven't read it or aren't caught up, go back, read it, and then come back and listen to us.
Yep. So we'll have it just do first impressions, like, right away, like, what you thought.
Okay, so, I was a little, like, at first I was a little, like, disappointed, but I was also relieved at the change of pace.
Yeah.
We had a couple high-paced chapters before this.
It was, like, 6 almost.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, not a couple. Yeah, it's a couple's 2, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It was a pantheon of high-paced chapters, and then I was like, slowed back down, mellowed a little bit. We get to catch our breath with this chapter.
But it's usually his tactic, right? Like, he usually hits on some sort of, like, epic moment, right? And then he goes into describing stuff.
And then here's a billion words.
A billion words. Like, he really likes to write. And we were trying to make our predictions for this chapter from last week, and I called this one as being the setup chapter, because, like, the next arc is supposed to be all about this Dark Continent thing, but he didn't really set up this arc, right? Which is why the Hisoka's thing was so random.
Yeah.
It was just because, like, things were happening, and everything was, like, getting to the ship, basically.
Yeah.
And now we're at the ship, but I feel like
we're at the ship, and we're actually assumably set to voyage.
I think they actually are finally driving the ship, kind of thing.
Right? Yeah. Like we're going to see the ship, like, slowly leave the dock, like, next week. Right? Fingers crossed.
I think it's left the dock.
Has it?
Well, they already said
at the very end there, did it?
Yeah, because they already said it's, like, been several days, and that there's already looting, and, like, you know, people are setting up shops and shit. Like life has already started on the ship, right?
I mean, that's a good point. Yeah.
Or it could have just been sitting there and they're already doing this like morons.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. That's kind of what I thought. It was that they were still at the dock because that king was talking and they showed the shot.
I don't know. Maybe time has passed. Maybe time hasn't passed. It wasn't very clear.
No,
but
that's the thing. I need like see, you got like there's a time passage, and for me, I was like, I literally need to see this whale surf off into the distance for me to think that they've actually left.
It's funny because with Hunter x Hunter, it seemed like there was in the beginning there was that weird tie-in with the design for like the technology in that world, right? Like the bug cell phone and you know, some of the things just look like giant toys from like Japan and shit, right?
Yeah,
that kind of faded away for a while.
Well, and also because the series has been going for so long, like later in the series, they're like, oh yeah, we have a Facebook equivalent, and it's like, okay, like what's like when did this come into fruition?
Yeah, and the Joy Station.
Yeah. And they had a memory card and like a disc and stuff, and that was obviously very like PlayStation.
And it was
1
literally
inspired.
the PlayStation memory card and the PlayStation. Like it was like PlayStation 1.
Yeah, it was.
It was like a copy. There was no difference. Anyways, this chapter was kind of like the setup chapter.
When you get a Zodiac, you know you're in for talking. When you get that Cowman, you're like, oh, there's going to be a page that's mostly words and no pictures.
Eventually, they're probably going to fight when they get to the continent or something. But yeah, right now they're just like this government organization. They're called the V5.
You've got to set these things up, and I think the most interesting thing to come out of this chapter is the 5 decks.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's just for this chapter, it strikes me like the chapter back on the Ant arc where they're trying to sneak into the like set up the whole sneaking into the palace thing, and they literally break down the palace and the room and all the different attack routes they were going to have, and like what each room was. Like this is the gassing room, and this is the like underground town for the human, and like.
Did you say the gassing room?
Yes.
Was there a gassing room?
God knows.
I was like, wait a minute, was there this, or is this just Hitler shit?
Well, he was like a dictator, right? He probably did have a gas chamber room.
Maybe. He seemed to want to play chess a lot.
He did. No, the original king, not the king, not Miriam.
Miriam?
Miriam.
That's what I say. Miriam. I have no idea if that's how you say it.
No,
Again,
I said Miriam.
That'll probably be a running theme on this podcast, is us like fumbling with names.
Well, they're not names. They're just he took letters and put it in like a Travolta fire like engine on the Google.
It just spits it back out, and like, yep, Carapico. Deal.
Adele Dazeem.
I did hear. I saw that like Killua's name was supposed to come from kilowatt. Because it's all electricity, and I'm like, oh, that'd be really clever. But and he didn't use electricity until like way further in.
Way later. So like, did he have that much foresight?
I can't tell with this guy. Yeah. It seems like he does, but he could just be like making it up every week.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, this is a setup chapter, which is not the most exciting thing in the universe. Like it's not Hisoka fighting Chrollo exciting.
No, but we just had like Mike said, 5-6 chapters of that. So.
Yeah. But yeah, like one of the coolest parts of the whole thing was them kind of setting up, like it was with the ant thing, was setting up the world that we're basically going to be isolated into for the next little while, which is like already been because this is his fucking gold mine of ability, is his ability to describe things so well that it sets up an entire world for you already. Like the idea of this self-sustaining world ship kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's
like a cruise ship on crack.
Well, it's gonna be like it's its own mini ecosystem, right? Where all these people are gonna have to interact with each other, or maybe not, considering like the
floors and the floors. So yeah, so Cal's gonna go over this, but it's like the floors of the ship are divided by like class structure, basically.
Yeah. So the Black Whale has 5 decks, and may I just say the design of this like Black Whale ship is charming as fuck.
Yeah.
It's got this little smiley face and shit,
and then like a top deck with another ship on it or something.
Yeah, it's perfect. I was just like,
with this
is another thing why I like Hunter so much. Is just like there's this cute ass like fucking happy whale ship, and they're going to a place that like literally like turns people's skin into like just rancid, gross, like twisty
acid that like they spew off of themselves now, or like a living virus, or
like some shit right. Like it's just they're taking this happy whale to like the darkest place on Earth.
Yeah, and the king's just gonna come and be like, I'm gonna build a grand battleship to take my warriors. It's a fat whale.
Yeah, yeah. Here's Cookie Puss the whale. Like I don't really.
Cookie Puss. We're officially naming it the SS Cookie Puss.
Done. Before I get up to the decks, I have a interesting interesting thing. I think it's interesting. You know when like an arc is it's being laid out before you? Do you think that we're going to be on this ship for so long that we might not end up calling this the Dark Continent arc, and we might end up calling it like the ship or the journey arc to the Dark Continent?
I was going to bring that up.
Because right now everyone's calling it like it's the Dark Continent arc. It's like this might go on for 3 years.
I'm worried that the trip, because like they've already said the trip across is long.
Yep.
I think they said it was a year at some point on it.
Did they? I don't remember.
It's a long fucking trip, right? And I think this whole trip's going to be like the Prince trip, or Prince arc, whereas the princes narrowing themselves down to a few before they get to the continent, right?
Yeah.
Doing the assassination thing.
Because you have to imagine it's going to be like a massacre on this ship at some point.
Oh, it's going to be, right? Like the whole ship has been set up by the king to be a system for where it's easy for the princes to attack each other. So that was one of the things that Kurapika brought up, right? Like everyone else said, oh, it should be really hard for anyone to do anything. But then he's like, actually, it's super easy, right? Like there's hunters everywhere, assassins can get through, and when you toss Nen users in, like the possibilities are endless. So like we're actually extremely vulnerable. So yeah, like the whole thing's just set up to be this massacre for the princes, and they have like everything they need at their fingertips, right? They're gonna have like minions, and they're gonna have like the poverty, and they're gonna have guards, and they have like an entire police force that's separate from all of that. That's the security for the ship.
Sorry, let me go through the five floors.
Oh yeah,
first.
right. Sorry,
I totally got off track there. The Black Whale, Cookie Puss, has 5 decks. The first deck houses the royal family and the V5's political VIPs.
Yeah.
The second deck has various celebrities and prominent figures, as well as wealthy and upper class. The third deck and below is for general public and regular passengers. Yeah. So, yeah, that's like already.
And the third deck's huge. It's more like 2 decks of its own of 5 decks, right?
3, 4, and 5. Or 4 looks really big. 3's pretty big, and 5 is like right underwater. But yeah, the top 2 ones are like one is like the little actual ship part. So an interesting thing that I thought that was pointed out was the fact that like the medical staff was severely reduced on those lower decks. So there's going to be a lot of deaths, I'm thinking, and no one's going to be able to be saved.
It's also to produce that it's part of again his fucking writing. It's like he's trying to produce this world on the ship, and the king planned this kind of shit out. Where if he removes the medical facilities available to the poverty-stricken, right, they'll become desperate, and then they're going to become there will be like that lower bottom class, and there'll be like this dredge area, right, which will become a tool utilized. And anyway, it's just like the machinations involved in the ship design alone to set it up for these princes to basically just try and ham it out on this ship.
Yeah,
he's giving them resources like people, giving them desperation, giving them security, giving them everything they need, all set up and planned and thought out so that it would just be chaos.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to find the exact figure with the amount of doctors they have on here. But the 1 and 2 have like 20 doctors per person or something like ridiculous like that.
At the bottom is that there's 1 doctor per every 20 people in the bottom floor.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. It's really limited, and that's why like the rabbit chick is excuse me. She's a doctor, I guess. That's what kind of they labeled out.
I think so, yeah.
And I think that she's down there now trying to like help out. But yeah.
Here's the big question, Mike. What do you think Kurapika's swooshing at in the last picture?
Oh, it was the Princess Nen monster coming out.
Oh, is that what you think?
Yeah, because he responded to the Nen. He was like malicious Nen, turned around, right? And he always draws it with that black body shit. And it only responded when the mother was upset and distressed, right?
Yeah, she started shaking, like reconsidering
so
being
then the
on
baby
this.
responds to the mother's emotions, and then the Nen monster comes out, right?
Oh, man. So we're going to see a fucking... What do you think this one's going to be made of? Just like 3 ball sacks? He's just like pubes.
I don't know. Because, like, the design on the giant titty monster
that titty monster is, like, the weirdest thing we've seen from Hunter.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's done some weird shit.
I don't even think we've seen... Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think we've seen... like bare breasts on any like character in any manner.
I think
and then all of a sudden he draws this monster that is made of titty. You know, like it's like all the Dead or Alive girls, just their chests were like on this bloated.
Yeah, it was when they're like they turn 80 and they're saggy.
Yeah, with huge nips
that squirt milk or acid.
Yeah, who knows what? No, it's never going to be anything that simple with him. It's going to be something even fucking weirder.
Yeah, it's like going to be like a parasite or a virus or
like
shit.
No, like naked babies are going to fly out, and they're really just going to be bombs. And like the sacrifice, the condition is that like they're real babies being born in a hospital. Like the mother just gave birth and the father's like yes, and then all of a sudden it's like boop, and then, like it just goes flying across the ship, explodes at like fucking Krollo or something. It's like ah, and like you just see this man on the other side of the world like where did my child go? Like that's probably gonna be the case. Baby bombs out of these nipples.
That was literally on the spot, so just to give you a thought process on Cal's brain.
Yeah, I mean...
That's like Cartman, where if you close your eyes and all you see is mayhem and murder.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
Yeah. Well, I think his was more mucked up, though, because it was that really horrible psychopath murderer prince, right? So I don't think they're all going to be that fucked up and weird. And I also know that you've seen this before with the art, with... I'm forgetting the name of the creator again.
Togashi?
Togashi.
Yeah.
The first time he does something, he draws it really fucked up and weird. And then from there, it just becomes like a generic form you can keep reusing really easily.
Well, a lot of times...
Like the first time you see some of the ants, you're like, and then later on, they're just like, they're
slightly less horrifying.
They're fine.
There's something about Togashi's art in general I've noticed. Sorry, if you don't know, we're also artists, and we also go on like these stupid tangents where we just talk about the design of stuff a lot. Stuff a lot.
That's why it's part of the Pens&Pixels branch.
Yeah, that's right. I guess the Hunter people who listen to this don't really know what Pens&Pixels is.
Yeah.
It's a concept art and illustration collective.
There you go.
2 thumbs up! Yeah, so what I've noticed with Togashi's art is when he first draws something, it has this like a slightly more radical design, and then as he keeps going, it gets a little more refined and a little simpler and probably easier to draw repeatedly, right? Which is interesting, and I always like watching even anything like that, even in animation, right? When you see like a season 1 character compared to like a season 8 character, and you're like, oh, okay, like they refine the design a lot going on. Yeah,
but with Togashi, it's always it's the backwards, because most of the time when you see with other artists, like you draw them the first time and you're like, something's off.
Yeah.
You know, like their jaw is really big or something weird, right? And then
later season 1, like Simpsons.
Yeah. Like they look kind of bulky and weird, and like the design hasn't been like thought out, and then later on they're like highly refined, and that's the time when you like the character. Hell, even the main characters of Hunter were like that, right? Because like Killua and Gon in the very beginning didn't really have any of the really striking designs in his line work behind them. And then later on, Killua's line work got very sharp, right? He figured out that Killua was going to be like this lightning-based character.
Yeah.
And everything around that kind of like flowed, right? And even his hair got longer, with a little bit more like just things were thought.
Well, also it's interesting because like again, he's been doing this since 1998. His art style would just evolve along with this as you go, right? Like
it kind of went the other way again. It went down.
Well, yeah, well that's when he goes back and redoes the chapters. There's some really nice illustrations in there. Even in this chapter, there's a shot of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
It's the shot of the interior of one of the upper decks, and it's a really nice crowd shot. And there's like on the bottom half of it, there's this like this princess, and she's in a really like nice gown. There's some cool character designs. I believe it's like page 14 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, where the fuck it is.
He's got, it's such a funny thing, he's got a real talent and a real skill for a lot of things. It's funny that a huge portion of his skill is actually, like, I mean, he's really good with characters, because his character designs are fucking insane.
He's got some, I like the way he does, like, faces. Sometimes he does, like, really,
big noses with the really big jowly, kind of, like...
And sometimes he puts a lot of detail into certain ones, too. Yeah. There was someone in the anime, I believe it was one of the characters, who was, with those women that were being held underground in the like thing. There was a male character whose like face was like abnormally detailed. I don't know why that was, but it was great.
Yeah, he just kind of takes his art the direction he wants to go with it. But then his environment stuff is actually quite strong. He just spends such little time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When he does put time in, you're like, whoa, dude.
Okay, so as for my prediction is what's going to happen, because you probably guessed correctly, I'm going to guess incorrectly.
Yeah.
At the other fact, I think he's going to notice the presence of a spider. Not, like, in the room with him, but just the Nen, like...
Where did you get that one from?
What?
I don't see that at all. Like, I don't see the attachment to that, because the cloud of smoke came from
As I just said, though, Mike, I'm going to guess incorrectly. Because you predicted what is probably going to happen.
Yeah, it's the Nen babies. I think that's going to be the next arc for the next little while, is obviously clearly focusing 100% on the princes and getting that whole thing started, because he once again re-showed all the princes in this chapter.
Yep.
So we're going to go through... a few of them are just going to get eliminated without ever seeing the Nen monster. They're just going to get, like, fucking reamed.
Yeah. Probably.
And, or maybe he's actually going to go through with all of them, I don't know. Or he's also just going to, like, have that fight start, and we're going to start seeing the Nen monster thing, and then that's going to be part of Kurtopika's calculations, basically, right?
Yeah. Because
that was, like, his whole thing, this entire... or half of this chapter was his... like breaking down how to secure the mother and the baby.
Yeah, I like the segregation aspect of this fucking shit. It's cool.
So they're probably also going to cover, I think, in the upcoming the way he's going to break it up in each chapter is it's going to be from each bodyguard, because like we know that he Kurtopika assigned bodyguards to other princes, right?
Yes, did he?
Yeah, he put like Hanzo from the Hunter exam on one, and he put the guy who wrote haikus that become real from his bodyguard set on another one. He put the girl who plays that plays the flute. Yeah,
that little horrible creature.
Yeah, that apparently got turned into that, and it's also scarred horribly underneath from playing the music.
That's a sad story.
Yeah. You can't even tell. It's like it's this weird asexual voice with long hair.
Yeah.
And then it looks like a gerbil.
Kind of does. Yeah. Kind of looks like a little fat gerbil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
Melody.
Cool...
That's it.
Melody. That's right. Yeah. Beautiful name though.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I think that's it for the speculation on this chapter.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so if that's all you came for was just the chapter dissection, that's all. I think that's all we got for you.
Yeah.
We have a theory if you want to stick around.
And this is a theory that other people have been talking about.
This is a theory that was posted on the Hunter x Hunter subreddit by one Dana Roth. Dana Roth? Danaroth. Dana Roth. I'm going to say Dana Roth. User Dana Roth on the subreddit.
Dana. It's Dana.
Dana Roth. It's kind of a cool name. It reminds me of Reboot, honestly.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any computer attachment.
No, not at all. But I can just hear Megabyte saying Dana Roth. Like he'd be really angry at it. It's like a one-off character in an episode. Some fucking Guardian came down. I mean, Bob has no fucking. Why did they name him Bob? Did they just think that was funny?
Maybe it is an actual term though.
Maybe
like a hacker term or something.
Yeah, maybe. I always just thought that everything else was so clever, and they were just like, "Who's Bob?"
Gigabyte, hexadecimal. Well, I guess dot. What dot? Yeah.
Yeah, .com, right?
.com, DOS, and all that kind of stuff.
Enzo. I mean, that's not really anything, is it?
I think it is. I think someone explained it to me. I think.
Oh, really? I always just thought it was like a futuristic sounding name.
No, I think it is one. I think someone explained it to me.
What was his dog's name? Skip?
No.
My Dog Skip. That's a Frankie Muniz movie.
Oh my god. My Dog Skip. Frankie Muniz. Oh. Anyways.
Yeah. Sorry.
Pong. Pong wasn't a real one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they're not all cool.
I think that was supposed to be like Pong.
maybe.
Sorry, expect our reboot spin-off next week.
Not really.
Okay. So this theory is that the spiders were among the audience during the Hisoka Chrollo fight.
Which I think is a great theory.
Yeah, this is a really cool theory, actually. So the theory goes like this. As soon as Chrollo demonstrated his powers on the referee, and after he blocked Hisoka's view, he just released Shalnark, Cortopi, and Meteor City's Elders' powers, giving them back to the original owners. Acting as a team, they pipelined the creation of the Kamikaze puppets. Cortopi created them, Chrollo put the stamps, the Elder applied the Sun and Moon seals. Shalnark worked as supporting backup when needed. And there's a bunch of evidence supporting this. I don't want to say every one, but there are a couple ones that like really struck me. The antenna that Hisoka retrieves from Chrollo's clones aren't Shalnark's original Batwing antennas. That could just be a detail missed, maybe.
Not with this artist, not with him.
When Chrollo talks on the phone with Shalnark, he never talks about giving him back his Hatsu. He just talks about giving him back his phone, which is interesting. When Chrollo is seen using the phone to make Hisoka's bowling ball head explode, he isn't using it in the usual way. He is actually talking at the phone. On the other end could be Shalnark following Chrollo's instructions. Meteor City's Elder seems to have been spotted in the audience, and that's a pretty different character design. So to just randomly put that in there,
it's weird.
Would be weird,
yeah,
right?
I spotted that too.
Usually when you do a crowd scene, it's just here's a bunch of circles and vague body shapes. Hisoka's estimation of the puppet's number was way off. He guessed 20 to 30 extra, while he is then attacked by around 200. Going by this pipeline buildup, a huge number would be justified. When describing the situation to Hisoka before accepting the fight, Chrollo talks about the possibilities to use Nen at its best and says, "Fight as part of a team." Hisoka may have realized the setup when Machi reminded him of Chrollo's line by naming location and opponents, and that's why he's now going on a spider killing spree.
So all of these literally, to me, spelled a yes. It was something I was thinking about before, but because everyone's been kind of confused on Hisoka's motivation to go around and kill the spiders.
Yeah.
This would just totally explain it, but it totally does make sense, because I think, as I was telling Cal before, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure, that at one point Chrollo explains that his ability steals the power away from the character or the person until he dies or the page in the book is destroyed.
I believe that's what I thought too.
Yeah. So,
but when I saw the last chapter and they were talking about, hey, I'm going to give you shit back, I just assumed I remembered wrong.
Yeah. And at the same time, he's been lying about the use of how his book works, right? So it could be all made up. We don't know. But I'm pretty sure that seemed like that was correct. And then on top of all of that, the use of the phone was completely incorrect, right? And then at the end, again, he just tossed the phone back to him. That was just going to give back his powers or something. There was no exchange. So that was kind of weird to me at first, too. And then, the way that the whole thing with how he described the book and these new rule sets that it suddenly existed for his abilities didn't make any sense, considering if he could do that when he was fighting, the Zodlex.
Well, he said something about, he had gotten new powers just to defeat Hisoka, right, though?
Yeah, but, to open up several ones, and I don't know.
No, it is all a little, it is fishy.
Suspect.
I do like this. That's why I like this theory.
And then the biggest one that validates it for me, though, right, is that when Needle Girl... Machi says that, the circumstance, environment, and picking your location are really important, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, at the end of all of that, suddenly 3 spiders are just there. Usually they're all apart unless they're called together.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have come to watch, right? They would have just been left Chrollo alone and let him do his thing. That's kind of by their rules, right? So...
I absolutely could believe this theory, and that is why Hisoka's pissed.
Yeah, he's pissed.
It was 4 against 1.
Yeah, he didn't get the proper fight that he wanted, and it was all set up just to make the job easier on Chrollo, which he would totally do.
Yeah.
Rather than having to even exercise any of his powers correctly. Hence, even the fight with the Zodlek, right? He paid someone else to kill the people who hired him in order to not actually fight the Zodleks, because to fight both of them at once would either be extraordinarily hard, or he would lose, or maybe he could possibly win, but to major injury. So, he sets up a scenario, right? He's all about, big plans. So yeah, totally.
This would be great if this came back and was explained,
and then that totally explains Hisoka's motivation. Now I got to kill the spiders, so he can't do that, so I can have my one-on-one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I said last week too. Was this fight seemed like a JRPG boss fight where he's just spamming his minions at you, and you're just fuck, you're slashing away, and you can't get at him. He reveals his weak point somewhere in the distance. You're no, I can't get to you in time. Yeah, he didn't actually get to spar with Chrollo, right? Anyways, I think that's an interesting theory, and I think it's something to keep our eye on for sure.
I think it's going to come up and be explained like that for sure.
Yeah, I bet so.
Or now that someone said it, like he's going to change his mind and rewrite the thing.
he's browsing like North American message boards, like fuckers. You'll never get this.
I guarantee you, he probably is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's it. That's it. That's all we got.
That's the Hunters.
That's the Huntercast.
That's all the Hunters
for this week. We hope you enjoyed. If you want to find us on Twitter, I'm at the CalG. Mike is at Mike Kent Draws. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Where's Mike Kent Art? Is Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I've got a common name.
Yeah.
And you can find Pens and Pixels and anything to do with our arts collective and all that at www.pensandpixels.ca or on Facebook and pretty much all major social media. Just look up Pens and Pixels, but with an ampersand. You can follow us along with all of our content on there. It's great stuff to follow.
Tons. So until next week, Kinoa!
This is going to be funny forever. Go!